Hello friends, welcome to Dr. Rajkumar's Learning app. So today's topic is about Parliamentary Standing Committee's report on MGNREGA. So the Parliamentary Standing Committee has came up on a report, few recommendations and few findings about the MGNREGA. So we will discuss what are the findings and what are the recommendations of this Parliamentary Standing Committee. So what is the context? So the report on MGNREGA raised guaranteed days of work, says House panel. So according to this committee, there should be increase in the working days which is guaranteed by the MGNREGA Act. So it is demanding that the 100 days should be increased to 150 days. So first of all, we will see what is MGNREGA. MGNREGA is nothing but it is an Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act which was passed in 2005. So it provides legal guarantee for 100 days. So only 100 days of the employment is provided through this act in every financial year to adult members, only for the adult members of the family in the rural areas, and the work will be of the unskilled manual work at the statutory minimum wages. So for this work, the minimum wages will be paid, but the work will be unskilled, it will be manual, and it will be provided only to the adults in the rural areas. So this act was not applicable for the urban areas. And also the act provided only for the 100 days of the employment. So this Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India is monitoring the entire implementation of the scheme in association with the state governments. So Ministry of Rural Development and state governments are responsible for monitoring the entire scheme. So what are the findings of the committee? So during last 4 to 5 years, it has been seen through the analysis of its budget estimates that each time there has been a substantial hike at the revised estimate stage, and further augmenting the budgetary allocation of the scheme. So according to this committee, from last 4 to 5 years, it has been seen that whatever the resources are allocated in the budget, they are not sufficient for this MGNREGA. And again in the revised estimate, we are seeing that those allocations are increasing, those financial resources are increasing. So this is augmenting the budgetary allocation of the scheme. So the excess has been spent on this MGNREGA. So according to this committee, that the MGNREGA scheme is showing more demand, and therefore we need to increase the spending on the scheme more through the budgetary allocation. If we compare the budgetary allocation in this budget, it is nearly same what it was allocated last year. So there is no increase in the budgetary allocation for the MGNREGA, even though there was more demand for this scheme for the MGNREGA during the pandemic. Why? Because the migrants were moving from the urban areas to the rural areas. There has been increased demand. So the panel wanted to increase the budgetary allocation for the scheme. Now also what panel says that there is delay in the payment of wages. So here the wages are not paid in timely manner. So there is again and again delay in the wage payments. Nextly, Finance Minister has not increased the allocation for MGNREGA in Union Budget 2022-23. Ministry retained it at 73,000 crore for fiscal year of this year. So budgetary allocation has not been increased as compared to last year. It has kept at the same level. So with respect to spending of the budget or the budgetary allocation by the states, there were some mismatch. So according to this committee, as many as 27 states and UTs have utilized more than 100% of funds earmarked for MGNREGA in financial year 2022 till December 3. So in India, there are 27 of the states which have used all the funds which was allocated for MGNREGA in the starting period of the December only, in the first week of the December only. So there were no funds for the further implementation of the scheme. So for next 4 years, they had no funds to implement this scheme. So this was one of the findings of the Parliamentary Committee. Here you can see that percentage of the utilized funds by different states. Now you see here that Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu and Kerala, they have utilized more than what was allocated for the scheme. So this should not be happen. Even in Jammu Kashmir, it is more than 150%. So these are some states where more than allocated of the budget or the financial resources has been used for MGNREGA. So what does it mean? That the demand for the employment through this MGNREGA Act has been increasing, and there is need to increase the budgetary allocation according to this parliamentary committee. So what are the recommendations of this parliamentary committee? So it recommends to increase the guaranteed days of work from 100 to 150. So during pandemic, when the migrants started moving from urban areas to rural areas, they had only one option for the employment, that was MGNREGA. So the demand for the work increased, and they had only MGNREGA as the only source for their employment for their livelihood. So on the basis of that, the parliamentary committee is recommending to increase the number of days from 100 to 150. Also, there is need for budgetary allocation of the scheme of such enormous magnitude should be done in a more pragmatic way. So whatever we are allocating the funds through budget, that should be in a pragmatic way, because this scheme is a huge scheme which is implemented at a large scale. Thirdly, it says that scheme be revamped keeping in view the changing times and emerging challenges, particularly in the wake of COVID pandemic. The parliamentary panel says that if COVID-like situation arises again, there is need to keep changes in this act, in this scheme, so it can be utilized. It can be very much helpful for the people like migrants, which can provide them the employment opportunity as well as a source of the livelihood. And now it also says that there is need to diversify the nature of works under MGNREGA. Now we see that the work which is provided under MGNREGA, it is unskilled and manual labor, which can be used for construction of the roads or the watershed management, agricultural laborers, etc. But this panel says that there is need to diversify the work. We need to include more areas which can be brought under this MGNREGA Act. And also it is demanding to increase the wage rates under MGNREGA by linking it with the index commensurate with inflation. Because of the inflation is increasing day by day, the panel says that the wages should be linked to the inflation. So the workers who are working under the Act should not feel the brunt of the inflation. So the low wages should not impact their livelihood. So these were some of the findings of the Parliamentary Standing Committee, the recommendations of the Parliamentary Standing Committee about the MGNREGA Act. So thanks for joining us. Thank you.